Well, hello, David Vos here. What's beautiful here today in Australia? Oh no, I'm in Oklahoma. Sorry, I was reading about Australia. Well, it's not such a great day in Australia, but I hope you're having a wonderful day where you are, my friends. I want to show you something. I want to read you something, just a little bit here. I want to read you something, and at first it may not seem very important. But read very carefully. As something has come to my attention here. Australia is at a crossroads with COVID. The confidence and pride of 2020, when lockdowns and isolation brought COVID outbreaks to heel, have been replaced by doubt, fatigue, and bitter battle over how much freedom or risk should be allowed in the Delta-defined future. Some states are trying desperately to hold on to what worked before, while New South Wales and Victoria, home to the country's biggest cities, Sydney and Melbourne, are being forced by Delta outbreaks to find a more nuanced path forward. Prime Minister Scott Morrison has thrown his weight behind a plan to reopen. Reopen a country? When 80% of adults are fully vaccinated, then we'll reopen. But the road ahead may not be smooth, as shown by protests this week over a vaccine mandate, and state leaders are still insisting that they will go it alone. We might be looking at the country turning the clock back on itself, said Tim South Fomassane, a political theorist in the University of Sydney. There is an explicit insularity and parochialism that now dictates debate, and there is an apparent attempt to obfuscate with big words and sounding very important and wearing long white robes or perhaps a black robe, like your suit, coat, and tie. You think you're better than everybody else and you're going to pontificate. Well, anyway, continue on. It says the world has come to see the country through that lens, through the actions of its blinkered politicians. Yeah, the blinkered ones. Whoever wrote this has got a lot of really neat words. So, to some American conservatives, yeah, to some of us, why? They can't deny that some of us, conservatives, Australia has become the world's largest prison. Well, some people think it's death, but it's not really death at all. Why? We've got 4 or 5 people over here that says it's wonderful. They just left their body and went to heaven. It was wonderful. Why? We can kill everybody and it'll be just fine. Yeah. Its citizens are all barred from leaving or returning to the country. With government's reflexivity. There's another good word. Reflexively. Reflexively, that's the word. Locking people in their homes at any sign of a virus. Wow, I just thought that was interesting. I left it in. It was right there where my phone just blanked out black and said, you've got to have an update. I don't know if it's a virus or Microsoft, but that was really eerie. Anyway, continuing on. But notice this. Can you imagine staring at somebody through the window behind a, what are they, a welder or something? Oh, all the... I guess now it's required. You have to have a degree in welding before you can be a nurse. And we do the nursing out in the parking lot now. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we just set up tents along the street because this is so terrible. Anyway, it says, but listen to this. Many Australians, while frustrated, see something else. Oh, so we're going to find out reality from this man who's going to explain it to us. Okay, he just told you the truth. It's a prison planet. Alex Jones, anyone? But now you're going to see a different perspective because you see, you don't really know what you're seeing until you get the news to explain it and show you what you're really looking at. It says, asked if the sacrifices have been worth it. Oh my goodness, of course we would love to sacrifice our lives for what? Well, we don't want to catch a cold. My goodness, that drafty door's open. We've got to put, blankets under the door. And if you don't do that, you go to prison and we'll kill you. So it says, their community leaders, the millions of people waiting in long lines for vaccines, and the tens of thousands of Australians who would have died without all the restrictions, their answer with caveats or zeal, huh? Are you catching this? Most people don't even understand these words. When you say something with a caveat, it means it's not really true, but it kind of, there could be a truth somewhere. Their answer with caveats or zeal. Now, if you answer with zeal, then you're all for it, right? You're excited about it. So now, do you think he went out and polled the Australians and said, now these are people who have a caveat and these who have a zeal? And what about the ones who don't like it at all? Well, we're not even talking about them at this point because we're trying to create a picture. We're a director. We're making a movie here. We want you to believe what your mind is coached into believing. So it says, yes. It's generally been the same. Yes, it is worth it. Or yes, we believe it will be worth it. To understand why I explored both Australia's, the one with where roughly half the country's population is trapped at home. Can you imagine trapping half of an entire nation inside their home? For how many weeks now? Months? I don't know. And the one that has so far managed to keep it out, in both, I heard the same message. Critics need to reimagine freedom, not as the personal autonomy that Americans cherish, but rather as a collective right with responsibilities. Epidemics are a test of society's commitment to the greater good, except when it's not really an epidemic at all, when it's only an illusion. It's quite different. But it says, they argue, and if any country has failed, it's the United States, not Australia. Why in United States, there's a bunch of deplorables running around over there, holding onto their guns and their Bibles. And we can't have that. So, let me show you something else. Okay, now, hang with me here for a minute. I'm going to show you a few things. I'm getting to a point that I think is maybe the biggest mind blower of all the mind blowers in all the mind blowing world that you have ever seen. This is Prince Charles in a speech he gave recently at this COP, which is weird. COP sounds like cop, police, which is, as somebody pointed out, sounds like a police state, which, never mind. Here's what he says. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic has shown us just how devastating a global cross-border threat can be. Climate change and biodiversity, they are no different. In fact, they pose an even greater existential threat to the extent that we have to put ourselves on what might be called a warlike footing. A warlike footing? Again, we're talking about... Now, first of all, remember, if there was a crisis in the world, a real full-blown crisis... Now, remember, we've never had a crisis in the world like that of any kind. It's ever happened as far as we know. In mythology, there was the Great Flood, and there was Sodom and Gomorrah, and, whatever. We've heard about that. What was that? Thousands of years ago. Because of an angry God who came to destroy mankind because we were evil. And then, of course, it repented, this God, that he killed all the people. And so either he or one of his other God friends decided to save 8 of them in a boat. Okay, that happened thousands of years ago. But as far as we know, the world, there's been crises. Like the pilgrims are on a wagon going west and they fall in a hole and break their leg. That's a crisis. Or there's a famine. Or there's a fire. Or there's a pestilence. Or this has always happened. But we've been going along in the modern 20th century, we were told that things are getting better. We have technology now. So we'll never have to experience these kinds. I mean, be out in the cold. We've got a social net. We got welfare. We've got hospitals. We've got technology. We've got it all licked now. And remember, all of the supposed crisis, global warming, which, if it exists, what caused it? What caused it is technology advancement. Factories to make our lives better. And all these trinkets and wonderful things and technologies. Well, they're killing us. And now their solution is more advanced technology. And somehow or another, it's your fault. Not to mention the fact that they're not telling you that they themselves are the fault. And maybe all we have to do is get rid of them. But I digress. But assuming that you believe that there is some great crisis hovering over mankind right now that would destroy us, other than the crisis that is trying to promote a crisis that doesn't exist. Maybe if I say the word a little later, the glitch will remain and no one will even know what I'm talking about. Then I can say everything I want to say as long as nobody hears me and I don't say anything clearly. And this is kind of what they're doing. Only I'm being forced to do it because, of course, I'm not part of the clan. Anyway, so it's saying that if you believe that we're under the greatest threat of all time, then maybe, possibly, one could wrap your head around this kind of conversation. But remember, we've been through this before. Remember the war that would end all wars, World War I or World War II, and then that didn't end all wars, but just made the world better? Oh no, it made the world worse. Okay, and then the Nazis came over here, because these are the people we were trying to kill, right? And we just had to have these nuclear weapons so we could get rid of these bad people over in Germany. It was the worst thing of all humankind. And we had to pull together, and finally they convinced the United States to get into the war. And then after the war, we won, right? And bankrupted us. Now we're paying taxes. Remember 1930s when we started paying taxes. We had to have taxes so we could have a war. And after the war, what happened? Well, there was a Great Depression. Isn't that interesting? We just keep going through these crises, but it was manufactured. Do you not see that? So if you could wrap your mind around this concept, that if we don't go to war with Germany, they're going to destroy everybody and we're all going to be speaking German. And not only that, most of us will probably not make it because he don't like most people. He only wants, certain types of people. So we got to get rid of this and exterminate this threat. We make a threat. Now we got a solution. The solution is we go and we murder everybody. Oh, and by the way, they financed Hitler. How in the world would Hitler be able to build tanks and airplanes, and now we find out aerodynamic UFO type ships and a base at the Antarctic? How was this financed? Well, one of the financiers happens to be a president of the United States. I know. Prescott Bush was the chief American financier of Hitler. And his son, Bush, became president. First, not before he was the head of the CIA and bumped off his predecessor, JFK. Anyway, I digress again, but let's continue on. Now, we're all fixed now. We had a war. We won, supposedly. Let's bring them all over here and continue on with this nuclear business. Bring the scientists over in Project Paperclip and make that our government. Make that our goal, right, to destroy the world. What kind of a bargain is that? So I think there's something a little bit like that going on here. It says, climate change. Now he's throwing in climate change, which, of course, all the scientists believe that why in the last 10 years we've just, this is getting so hot now, right? And these modern weapons that we have, these ray guns, we're making these tornadoes and hurricanes all over the world. And we've convinced the entire world that really there is a problem. Maybe, well, I don't know, are we closer to the sun now than we were before? I don't think so. Right? Is it now winter and summer and winter? I don't think so. Everything seems to be going on just fine. I don't see a crisis unless you explain that, somehow articulate in these weird words and propagate all over the world and all over the channels and teach it in kindergarten to our children that, of course, there is no more biology and you can be anything you want. Then, of course, we get it. Okay, after intimidation and long years of indoctrination, finally we begin to see the great crisis looming and why we must just stick our head in the noose. And so now climate change and biodiversity. What the hell does that mean, biodiversity? What is the great threat? Well, he's telling you it's climate change and biodiversity. Is that, what are you talking about? Transgenderism? What is he talking about? Biodiversity. Well, he says, and biodiversity loss. And it's no different than what? No different than the thing going around. Why is it no different? Because one is weather and something else is a disease or supposedly. That's a little different. But okay, what he's saying is no different in the sense that we've got all these existential threats that we've created and pretended that's out there. Now you better all get down on your knees and be scared. Because they're no different. They're all going to kill you. And we're your savior. So, salvation is to die. Otherwise, you might die. In fact, they pose an even greater existential threat, to the extent that we have to put ourselves on what might be called a warlike footing. What is he talking about? It's more of this mumbo-jumbo legalese. He's talking about going to war with humanity. Notice, yeah, that's what he's talking about. Listen here. He's telling us right in this great speech. Remember, this is the most royal of the royal bloodlines there ever was royal, right? He is the top chief. His mommy's about to pass away and he's going to become king. And he's standing up there in front of all of his loyal, little henchmen, telling them, this is what I want you to do, right? I've already got my number one man, Fauci and Bill Gates and all the billionaires, and we're all working together. And you're not listening, guys. Pay attention. He's having myself had the opportunity of consulting many of you over the past 18 months. I know you all carry a heavy burden on your shoulders, and you do not need me to tell you that the eyes and the hopes of the world are upon you to act with all dispatch and decisively, because time has quite literally run out. Time has run out, and I'm expecting all of you to do what I'm telling you to do. What is it he wants them to do? Well, he's already said that they have been telling him, consulting many of you over the last 18 months. He was in consultation with all of his peers. And this is what they want to do, guys. The recent IPCC report gave us a clear diagnosis of the scale of the problem. We know what we must do. Oh, we know what we must do. With a growing global population creating ever-increasing demand. Oh, it's a global population problem, is it? Is that what it really is? I thought it was climate change, or perhaps some sort of DIMIC. No, he's getting to the point here. It's actually a global population problem. Now, what would you do if you had a global population problem? Well, you'd go at it from all angles, I suppose, and you'd have to conquer this with what? Depopulation? Well, that's quite logical. So he says, with a growing global population creating ever-increasing demand on the planet's finite resources, really, as far as I know, the tree grows every year. You cut it down, you put it in the fire and you burn, you get some heat, and it comes back. How is it finite? Only in your mind, Mr. Scrooge. You see, the only finite resources are these people that you're murdering. says we have to reduce the emissions urgently and take action to tackle the carbon already in the atmosphere, including from the coal-fired power stations. So what he's saying is that to tackle carbon in the air, you've got to reduce that. Now, remember the TED speech that Bill Gates gave where he explained that there are 3 problems. We've got too many people. We've got factories polluting and stuff like this. And one of these has got to go. And then he laughed because everybody knew he meant the people got to go. And then he said, we're going to depopulate the world with, yeah, okay. So it goes on. He says, putting on value on carbon, thus making carbon capture solutions more economical, is therefore absolutely critical. Similarly, the billions of years of evolution, nature is our best teacher. In this regard, restoring natural capital, accelerating nature-based solutions, and leveraging the circular bioeconomy will be vital to our efforts. Bioeconomy. Very mysterious words here. Bio is we, the human body, like biology. And of course, biotech is what he's talking about. They want to have a patent on your biology. They want to do some gene therapy. They want to have control because they've got to bring down the population of the world with a warlike footing. I'm going to go down here. He says it's going to take trillions of dollars and so forth. Then down here he says, we know that countries, many of whom are burdened by growing levels of debt, similarly cannot afford to go green. Here we need a vast military-style, what? Military-style campaign to I think he meant marshal, the strength of the global private sector. Friends, in actual English, what he's saying is the private sector, which is Bill Gates, Elon Musk, the saviors of the world, because you see, governments don't have the money to do this, but they have the money. If they take your taxes and they've stolen all of our money. They've got all the money. And now we just need to get the military behind Bill Gates and force it down your throat. Okay, enough of this. I've had quite enough already of you, Mr. Prince Charles, and now I'd like to go on to someone else. I looked in my mail this morning, and someone, a friend of mine, sent this to me. Wow. That's a pretty interesting picture. That woman, I think everybody understands on the left is Fauci, but that woman, according to this little picture, underneath it says that is Christine Grady. She is the head of the NIH Bioethics. This is the organization that approves drugs for the FDA, and this is her husband. Well, that would be a conflict of interest. But is it true? All these darn conservatives and patriots and Americans putting up all this garbage and lies, and we got to have fact checkers, right? So, let's go to the fact checker and see if this is true, because it'd be very interesting to see how they spin this. I think the first question that I'm going to try and confirm is whether that's really his wife. Is Fauci actually married to a Christine Grady, and is that her? The second question is she really the head of the NIH Bioethics organization? The NIH. Well, let's find out. Okay, AP News. All right, you can't get any more credited than this. It says claim. Dr. Anthony Fauci's wife is the chief of bioethics and human subjects research at the National Institute of Health. That means she's the one who rubber stamps exceptions to normal drug and vaccine testing. Okay. Well, what we've done by fact-checking this thing is we found that they're lying. That the whole thing is like we just got through seeing words that are being used that either we don't understand or they're being put together in such a way that it's designed to obfuscate everything that you've ever known or can possibly know. So what he's saying is, yes, Anthony Fauci's wife is the one that they say she is. And that's all true. And yes, she is the chief of bioethics and human subjects research at the National Institute of Health, the NIH. But you see, I'm going to read this entire article, and what it's going to really say is it's not really true because we found something to disagree with. But notice what they say. They say, but this doesn't mean that she rubber stamps. We're going to take that on their word. She doesn't rubber stamp what Fauci does. But that's not the point. Nobody said she rubber stamps it. We don't know what a rubber stamp is anyway. You see, that's probably one of these little weird words that we don't know what it means. I mean, most people don't rubber stamp things, so we just hear it like a little cliche that somehow is going to clear up the whole thing. The point is that she shouldn't be working as the chief of the NIH because that's a conflict of interest. You can't say, well, she's not rubber stamping, and then that clears it all up. The fact checks prove them wrong because we're just telling you she's not rubber stamping it. But you just admitted that she is the chief of the bioethics and human subjects research at the National Institute of Health. Oh, but she's not rubber stamping it. So this is all just a claim that we've shown to be false. The AP's assessment is false. The thing received emergency use approval from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Oh, not the NIH. It's the FDA. She's not the chief of the FDA. But guess what? The FDA is the government. Okay? That's not a person. The government has scientists working for them, and they approve it. And then the government finalizes it. Okay. So what they're saying then, since we know that the government did approve it, what they're saying is the government has hired some people to run and to rubber stamp. Well, no, not rubber stamp, but to just carefully go over all the facts and make a decision. And the person that is promoting the solution is Fauci, and the person that is checking the bioethics of it is his wife. Now we've got two people that have, not rubber stamped, but have scientifically determined for all of us that this is true. And now what we're really saying is they are the government. What is the FDA? Well, the FDA is a bunch of people that simply rubber stamp. So it's not his wife rubber stamping anything. It's not Fauci rubber stamping anything. They're just giving their expert opinions because that's what they want and that's what they believe and that's what they want to do, along with that guy in Australia that's cracking down on all of his subjects. That's their decision, okay? It's not a rubber stamp. They just made the decision. They've got it. Sorry, guys, I had to cut that word out. I did a bad word, and so I cut that part out. Let's just say they gotta do their thing. And, they're trying to do something to us, help us. They're just trying to help us. That's what it is. Okay, but they're not rubber stamping anything. The government is the rubber stamp. The FDA is the rubber stamp. Now you see how ridiculous you guys are to be worried about the fact that Fauci is married to the chief of the NIH. Why? You're just so silly. You don't understand. There's all these people. There's like 20 people, other than her. So she can't be rubber stamping it. Well, who are these other 20 people? Or, 20 companies? If I read them to you and did the research, which I don't feel like doing right now, maybe somebody out there would do that, and just let us know. But all those companies that are making these decisions, they're all being financed by Bill Gates, and Fauci works for him, and so does the NIH because he funds it. And the WHO, and, the CDC, and everything else. Because he's the one with all the money. And by the way, that is the problem. the conflict of interest of one man having all the money in the world and controlling these organizations and controlling all the organizations, the ones that make it, the ones that approve it, the ones that rubber stamp it, all of them. And so this woman, Grady, would never have become the chief of the NIH if it weren't for the fact that her husband was Fauci and he works for Bill Gates, period. And all of this is simply legalese and propaganda and words that are big and pontificating but mean nothing other than go back to sleep. Now, I've said all this to say this. Take a look. Here is the subject of today's rant or discussion or investigation. Musk, Elon Musk, the man who is at the center of just about everything that is unholy and evil and yet has a big smile and everybody trusts. Kind of like Bill Gates, who stands up there on the stage and said, well, the world will never go back to normal until the entire world has largely accepted gene therapy and can then be considered my own creation, which I've got patented, and I will control you all. And then maybe it will go back to normal. Wait a minute, that's not normal. Okay, well, but you heard me anyway. Musk is now twice as rich as Bill Gates. Bill Gates is playing the fiend, while Elon Musk is playing the nice guy, right? And yet it's Elon Musk that is really doing some things that's bothering me, and I'll tell you why. You know, we were talking about the other day, we were saying maybe Elon Musk, you know, I like, for instance, I don't believe any of these people really are geniuses. I don't think Elon Musk is a genius, unless perhaps he is an alien in a human suit and they're all geniuses up there. I don't know, but I think he's just a human, if that's what he is. I mean, unless he's an alien, I don't really know. He says he's not human on Saturday Night Live. Just like Hillary Clinton said she's not human. Okay, take that for what it's worth. I don't know. But anyway, whoever he is, I think it's curious that his two main achievements, or what we know him for, other than Tesla, which I think is just a way to make a lot of money. I mean, he's at $300 billion now. But his goals, I mean, that's something that's already happened. Just cars, right? We drive cars, and this is an electric car. But the two things that he's trying to do with the Neuralink, one, and the second is to go to Mars, I'm beginning to wonder if there's not something connected there. Why does he choose Neuralink? I mean, he's always got this like, well, when he asked him, he's like, well, I found out that the robots were going to take over the world. And so I decided, you know, if you can't beat them, join them. Well, that doesn't make sense either. But anyway, it simply seems to use a very weird word that's probably over anyone's head, that this is what they do, right? This is what they do. They just use a bunch of gobbledygook words, make it all sound normal. But to use a word like that, I would say that it just doesn't sound like a real thing. Like, his life mission is to get rid of the coming AI or the robot takeover. And to do that, he's going to join them and insert it right into your body. So that it, you know, we don't want the machines taking over the people, so we'll just assimilate the machines right into the human. Now that'll fix it. See, none of this makes any sense, but we just, like, listen and smile. Oh, he's going to make a Neuralink. Well, that's wonderful. But we don't pay any attention to what is going on here. So why then does he have this desire to go to Mars? And at the same time, like, you'd think that would be his only focus. He's trying to go to Mars. He's going to lead, you know, he's got the SpaceX, so maybe he could get there. You know, who knows? We don't know, right? Perhaps it's a big illusion and we're living on a flat earth, or, you know, it's up on a turtle floating through whatever. I don't know where we are. But anyway, the point is, why do you want to be the first man to lead everybody to Mars? And at the same time, you want to put a Neuralink in their head. Because if you're worried about the robots and you get to Mars and you're going to be the king of Mars, then you're not going to be worried about robots, right? Because you could just say, hey, I'm making an edict that says nobody can come to Mars with terrible robotic, AI, all right? So he could just make another civilization. He's fixed it. He's going to Mars. But no, he seems to indicate that he's still scared of the AI, which I think is double talk, because to me, he's creating the AI. Remember his best buddy, Trump, that made him a 300 billionaire? Trump is the one who put in AI, signed it into executive order into the world government. The entire world is going to be run by AI because Trump signed it into law at the United Nations. So don't give me this thing, well, Neuralink is somehow a way to defeat Bill Gates and his machinations. No, they're working together. In fact, I even heard Trump say very nice things about Bill Gates. Now, if Trump was a really good guy and he liked Bill Gates and he thought he was a nice guy and everything he was doing is wonderful and likes Elon Musk. I mean, look at Joe Rogan, that nice guy on radio. He likes Elon Musk, thinks it's wonderful, thinks he's a genius. They all are telling his grandiose character and talking him up and basically saying he's the greatest thing since, sliced bread. And I say that Trump's it couldn't possibly be that ignorant. He couldn't, you can't say, well, he just doesn't understand, David. He's a good person, but he doesn't understand. Well, I'm sorry. I don't want to vote for an imbecile, if that's what it is. In fact, I will not vote for government at all, ever again, because I've now realized that government is not now, nor will it ever be, the solution to any of my problems. Trying to get rid of an ad. I just can't get rid of it. Oh. It's not going to happen, I guess. So, anyway, read this. Look at this. Elon Musk diving into minds while reaching for Mars. Diving into your mind while reaching for Mars. What does the mind have to do with Mars? Continuing. Not content to reach for Mars and dethrone fossil fuels, tech entrepreneur Elon Musk on Tuesday is turning his focus to delving into people's minds. In a message fired off Tuesday on Twitter, Musk appeared to confirm he is creating a startup called Neuralink, devoted to enable brains to interface directly with computers. All right, go on down here. I won't bore you with all of this. But here it says, the Journal reported that the new startup will focus on neural lace technology, which involves implanting tiny brain electrodes capable of uploading and downloading thoughts. Let me read that again. Capable of downloading into your brain thoughts. Look at that very carefully. I know you probably got that part. Downloading thoughts. That just blew your mind. But there's something there I don't even know if everybody noticed. Capable of downloading thoughts, but also capable of uploading your thoughts. Okay, they can take you and take all your thoughts, your mind, and put you somewhere else. And where's that going to be? Okay, maybe a big computer, AI? Okay. Look, I don't need to read the whole thing. I think you guys have seen enough here. What I'm saying is, why is he interested in changing and putting thoughts in your brain and going to Mars? What if, you know how the flat earthers are saying we never went to the moon, and I don't believe that the pictures that we saw where they claim they went to the moon were real. I think they were faked. I think it's fraudulent. We didn't, but perhaps we went to the moon. I do not know if we went to the moon or not. And this is a big question. Like, is the universe even what we think it is? Remember, the German scientists didn't believe the world, or they didn't have the same cosmology. I mean, they thought that we were like inside of a dark hole and the stars were like little holes that we were looking out. I mean, I'm not kidding you. You ever heard the star, twinkle, twinkle, little star? How I wonder what you are. I mean, people for thousands of years has looked up and they're like, little stars, what are they? What are they? And scientists have been for thousands of years trying to say, well, they're stars and they're billions of miles away. And no, they're light years away. What's that? Well, it's something you can't even comprehend. We just made it up. But it's true. It's all true. And even though we can't prove it, you'll just believe us. All right. Look, I'm not saying that it's true or it's not true. I don't know. But what if for just a moment, remember we've been lied to, right? About everything. And the government has created a false scenario about who we are. Because we're actually the sons of the living deity in heaven. Free moral agents, and we don't need government, thank you very much. But they've convinced us that we're just poor little helpless individuals running around going to die if the government doesn't take care of us from cradle to grave. You see how that happens? Well, the illusion goes so deep that you're literally begging for police to rule over thee. You're literally begging for a dictator to come in and solve all your problems. Mind manipulation. What if they wanted you to really get down on their knees and worship you? And forget about this Jesus guy. We just don't want you to believe in this Jesus. Why? We want you to believe in us. And what if they had no power? What if they couldn't go to Mars? What if they couldn't go to the moon? What if there was no moon? What if there was no Mars? Well, it's just I see it up in the sky. It's a light in the sky, Dave. There it is, right there. It's Mars. Okay, I understand there's a light in the sky that they call Mars. The question is, we don't know what it is. We don't know if we have technological abilities to go to faraway distances like that, or to lift off the air and go into the space. Look, as far as I can tell, I don't think it's possible to leave the Earth in this sense, or at least leave the solar system. And this is the reason why. Because when you leave your body, you die. You can't live without your body. And I think that the Earth is our home. And I think if you leave this place, you can't live because there's no air up there. And I don't think that if you manufactured a really great tin can and filled it up with as much oxygen, as you want, that somehow or another you could shoot that thing a billion, zillion miles. You know how long they say it's going to take to get to Mars? 9 months. Here's where they say it would take 9 months. And then here's another one that says it would take 7 months. So I don't know how long it would actually take. And I don't know if it's possible to create enough oxygen in a capsule for a bunch of people for 9 months. I mean, maybe that's the simple thing. I don't know. But you would have to have a very good oxygen. I mean, it couldn't just the thing's gone wrong and now it's producing too much, nitrogen or something. It would kill everybody. So it would have to be very, very dangerous. Just on that alone, and we're talking about radiation levels outside of the ship, the speed, no gravity on humans for 9 months. I think they would have to literally be in a pod, like on the movie Avatar, asleep. Nobody's going to, walk around in a little airplane for 9 months. They're going to have to sleep a lot. They might put them in homeostasis. That might be how they'll say they're going to do it. Well, if you're in a drawer, remember that movie Avatar where they put people in a drawer and they hooked them up to a Neuralink, and then they went to this planet called, I don't know, what is it, the planet called? Was it Avatar? I don't know, but it was this planet. I don't remember the name of the planet, but that's how they did space travel. You didn't really go there. You just got in and put a Neuralink in your brain. There you were. Here's the question. If they can manipulate your mind and put thoughts in there, wouldn't that be the greatest most efficient and cheapest way to go to Mars is if you didn't really go, but you just told everybody you did, called it good enough. And you say, well, but how could you deceive the whole world? And why would you want to deceive the whole world that way? What would be the point of that? Well, there's probably a lot more to it. It's like, okay, aliens land. Oh, yeah, we met some aliens and they're God, right? Or some, oh, yeah, there's no Jesus. And people wouldn't believe the government saying, oh, there's no Jesus, right? Except for if the government said, look, we proved it to you. We went to Mars. There's no Jesus. And not only that, we got to Mars and there was some other king, some other God. Oh, it's Elon Musk. He's the God. Or, oh, it's Trump. Or, oh, it's, some God named Yahweh who he's wrote our Bible and he's telling us that, yeah, he's going to create a government where if everybody doesn't get down on their knees and bow to him, he kills everybody. Just deal with it. There's no Jesus. And we could prove it. We went to Mars. We went to the moon. Well, they created a very intricate, detailed operation to try and prove that they went to the moon, but it wasn't very good in those days. That's probably why they never recreated it, because it was really sloppy, and they knew they were about to be, exposed. So they like, well, we ain't going to do that again. Somehow or another, we can continue to make people believe that that was real. Because, they used it with a Kodak film or Polaroid or some stupid thing, and it looked really poor. But remember, back in those days, people were watching black and white television, some people, and it didn't have to be all that great. People would believe anything. Now we're in an era where people know there is Photoshop. They know there is CGI. So they're going to have to do something to prove. They're going to have a lot of witnesses. Like, thousands. So maybe what they'll do is they'll put, a group of people on a ship and they'll send them in, up into Earth's orbit around and around, and they'll go to sleep and put a Neuralink in their mind. They'll come back and say, oh, wow, it was wonderful. We went to Mars and there was, some God named Yahweh there. And now he's saying, oh, now you know about me. So I guess I'm exposed. Tell the world that I exist and we all got to die now. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to say. But the thing of it is this could definitely be. Remember, people were talking about the Project Blue Beam, and they were going to do this hoax and say Jesus was coming or what. Well, it won't be Jesus. It'll be another Jesus. It'll be the Antichrist, and we don't know who it is. I mean, he may have another earthly name as well. I mean, like Elon, the Most High. I don't know, or Trump. Bill the Gatekeeper, Bill Gates. What is that? Stargate? I don't know. But somebody is going to take that mantle. Now that is what Prince Charles was saying. He says the private sector, okay, the billionaires, we need to support them with our military, and we need to be on a warlike footing. And we need to give them trillions of all the world's got to pitch in and give them trillions of dollars, which is what? Somehow or other that means that it's free because it's taxpayer money. I don't know. But trillions of dollars backed by the military, and all the nations of the world are going to have to get behind this one guy, this private sector person because governments can't solve our problems because they don't have enough money, he says. So we're going to have to go to the private sector, and they're going to be our savior. So it seems like all the royal bloodlines, and they probably have all the money in the world, and many of these presidents and prime ministers are royal bloodlines as well. But it seems like all of these individuals are saying, look, remember when we went from royal bloods to electing presidents? Well, we can't do that anymore. Nations aren't going to be able to do this. We've got a crisis on our hands. The earth is warming up 0.0000001, which is, debatable. But we've paid off some scientists that say it is. And if it goes 0.000.1 more, we're all going to die. Okay, I know last year they said it was an ice age coming. This year it's a global warming, and next year, well, I don't know what it'll be. But I think that the Neuralink is going to be put into people's brains to convince us that this is the only hope that we have. We've got to create a new world because this world's dying. And we're all going to have to get off. Remember the flood? You got to get on a boat. And by the way, whenever we're doing these videos and we talk about why we're in this prison planet, and why would the Lord allow this, and all of these questions we have, one of the things that always comes to mind is why, if we decided to come to this world and it's a bad place, why did we come here? Were we lured into this area? Because we talk about how this is a deception and the devil's a liar. And we talk about the Garden of Eden where, this Yahweh says in his wrath, he curses them and tells them they got to leave the garden and they can't have eternal life. And the whole thing turns out it's just a lie, because in the New Testament, all we got to do is believe, right? And the bad guy who wants to kill you, he's a deceiver. So I wonder if this isn't how they started the whole thing. Some of us, all of us, evidently are in this world because at some point in time, somebody come up with an idea and said, hey, we all got to go down to this world called the earth. I wonder what disaster befell us before, what intimidation they used to get us to come here. And we were deceived. Is that what happened? It looks to me like they're planning on a textbook biblical mythological event whereby the entire world is destroyed. So therefore we all got to get on a boat. And I really do believe that this Neuralink, if it's designed to upload our minds, then there's no question they're trying to upload our brains, and it has to do with the SHOT and the 5G and all the technology and the phones and internet and CERN and everything. And their goal then, the guys are working together. They want to upload us or download us, whichever you prefer. They want to upload you into some sort of AI machine. And then they can create a new reality, assimilation, like Star Trek, the Borg that wants to assimilate everybody. And you have no more happiness, no more joy. I mean, maybe they could give us every lustful desire that we ever wanted. But there's a reason why that's not a good thing. Luring people in through sex and power and greed and fun and just go to sleep. You don't have to do anything. We'll just suck your brains right into this machine and create this wonderful reality where you get 70 virgins. Right? And everything you've ever wanted and all the gold-plated toilet seats you want. The problem is it's a living hell. Because as we know, this pleasure eventually causes a lot of pain. Because there is a law in the universe. Every action has an opposite reaction. This is a tragedy. That's why there is so much suffering in this world. Because they literally made a world that was evil. And then the only way, they cause the problem, then they give you the solution. So now here you are, Adam and Eve, in a world where you're all a bunch of sinners and I'm angry with you. So here's the solution. I'm going to give you a law. And if you don't obey, I'll kill you. And then you'll come back to my world and pay for all your sins all over again. And this will happen over and over and over. You'll never be able to die. It's like in the Call of Duty or some game that they're playing nowadays. You play the game, you shoot people, you murder people, you rape people, whatever you do on these, simulations, and there are worse ones coming. And then when you get killed, you just come back and do it again. No big deal. Right? Round and round and round you go. But all you're doing is spinning your wheels. And worse than that, you're suffering. You're suffering so bad. It's a very, 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 very unpleasant scenario that we're looking at here. I'm telling you, we better wake up and we better tell the world what is happening. There is no way this could all be a coincidence that right at the point where, we want to reset a one world government, there's supposed to be a Messiah or an Antichrist that's coming. And Well, several of them are presenting themselves and they've got some wonderful ideas. Well, let's make a new world and we'll all join. Yeah, you can have anything you want. Come on, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just trust me. Right? Just let me put this Neuralink in your brain and give you a little shot in the arm. And hey, it's only gene therapy. This is disastrous. This is so critical. We need now to wake everybody up. People aren't aware of what's going on because they're lying to people. It's all propaganda. So we're the only line of defense for truth. That's why the Bible tells us we've got to preach the gospel. And the good news of the kingdom must be preached in all the inhabited earth for a witness, all the nations. And then the end will come. This is a moment of decision. This is the day of judgment. And we got to make a decision as to who shall we obey. Will we obey love from the heart? Integrity? Will we follow after the Holy Spirit? Will we seek happiness and cooperation and love and kindness and gentleness? Remember, Jesus said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love them. Love is an action, and it's not like do whatever you want. Love means respond appropriately to those around you and care for them. And do unto them as you would want them do unto you. But the world is quickly going after the other philosophy. Got many people running around wanting to be witches and devils. And look, the word witches means a wise woman. But there is a different thing going on called some sort of a religion going on. They call themselves this. And they pretend that what it means is that they're all children of Satan or some other deity. Oh, well, yeah, one of the gods that people do is Satan. They dress up like him. But, I'm Gaia and I like Elon and I'm this and I'm that. And they make up whatever god they want to serve. Like it's some kind of a game. And the Bible says their bellies shall be their God. But I digress. They're going to come, their Messiah, okay, the private individual that's got all the money that nations and world populations don't have because we taxed them to death and gave it to this private guy, okay? And now we're going to have to get all the military behind this guy on a warlike footing and take the power of nations away and electing presidents. And we're going to have to go back to a dictator. The only hope for mankind is the Messiah. Only they're turning it around to their Messiah. Of course, we know the only hope for us all is Jesus. But they are trying to use that fear inside of us that the whole world's going to die if we don't get behind them. So, I think that it's clear. I mean, all we have is little clues. We don't know what they're trying to do, but we know they're either trying to kill everybody or they're trying to assimilate everybody. They're talking about going to Mars. They're talking about Neuralinks. They're talking about uploading our minds. I don't know, guys. I'm just saying. There's a whole lot of things they could be up to. But all of it's great deception. Please don't buy into it. Anyway, I'm David Vos. I'm going to go ahead and go. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.